Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Let's get back to the conversation on the price of one of the most important commodities in the market today, which definitely has been hit by a shock and a surprise increase, which is petrol. I'm being joined tonight by the presidential candidate of the Socio-Democratic Party in the 2023 election, Prince Adewole. Thank you so much indeed, Prince, for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure.
You told me that you saw this coming. In fact, you've praised President Tinubu for being able to hold the price that has not gone beyond it. You thought that this would have gone to almost 2,500 or so.
Yes, because that was why when we were running for the presidency, I knew that one of the greatest mistakes you could ever make was to adopt a policy of removing subsidy. Because the gravitational force of the market will drive the price towards equilibrium. And equilibrium, not to sound too technical, is where supply and demand meet reliably, sustainably. Where if you have this price, you can continue to supply that product without failure. That is all other costs you should have to absorb to get that product to the market, to meet the buyer. The cost, the price will pay you the cost plus element of profit. So I knew that you can't do that because there are so many externalities and imperfections in the system that will not let that be the wisest decision you can make. More so, all the noise being made around subsidy, I thought that there was an exaggeration of the fiscal burden of subsidy, and that the burden of palliative, the burden of price dislocation, the burden of lower productivity and social and civil unrest, when you put all those other costs together, they far outweigh the cost of maintaining subsidy by a factor of 5 to 1. So it will not be a good decision for anyone to say, I'm going to remove subsidy as president.
But if you had won the election, you wouldn't have removed subsidy.
No, of course, I will not. I've said it, even though the people who scored the highest votes, President Tinubu, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Governor Peter Obi, which incidentally was advised by Professor Patutomi, all of them said they were going to remove subsidy. In fact, the Labour candidate said we'll remove subsidy on day 1. So day 1 means the May 29. So the 2023. So the issue is a bad decision. We must.
How is it bad? This has been debated over and over again, and there are a lot of people who said removal of subsidy was the right pathway in us killing that evil that has bedeviled our oil and gas sector, especially when it comes to petrol.
Okay, if removal of subsidy is a good thing, then all of you should send a letter of congratulations to President Tinubu, and they should be rejoicing on the street. And
I mean,
should not
removing it was very unpopular before now, because like you said, it was a campaign promise by most of the major candidates who said they would remove it on the 4th day or they would remove it at some point.
The so-called major candidates are the major headache of the country, because the political elite, the business elite, thought that they shouldn't share prosperity with the downtrodden. So they will collect subsidy on any other thing. They will subsidize the living condition of people in government. Whether you are elected, whether you are in National Assembly, you are the presidency, whether you are a judge or anything, your life will be subsidized. Your housing will be subsidized, your cars will be subsidized. That one is not bad. If you're a professor, vice chancellor of university, you will be subsidized. So that subsidy is good. But that's one that the poor people are partaking in, that's one that is bad. So it shows you the social injustice, socio-economic injustice in Nigeria.
Professor Patutomi said, if he were in President Tinubu's shoes, he will return subsidy in some ways. And you were saying that you wouldn't remove subsidy. That means you're saying tonight that President Tinubu should reverse the subsidy policy.
No, look, President Tinubu is not going to reverse any subsidy policy because of the following factors. 1, he ran on the basis that he was going to remove subsidy. Under his own vision of Nigeria, where Nigeria is going, Nigeria and subsidy, prosperity and subsidy cannot coexist. And he made his case that if you like, You can go on rampage, you can go on demonstration, you can go on riot, you can go on anything. I will remove the subsidy, and there's nothing, I'm not going to change my mind. And people, when I heard that, I said, I'm going to defeat this man in this election. Clearly, people are not going to vote for someone who wants to remove subsidy. And the same thing, the PDP candidate said he will remove subsidy, even to boot, even sell NNPC. And the Labour candidate said he would also remove subsidy on day one. And they gave the same arguments, which we don't have all the time for, that it was costing too much, we're subsidizing pleasure, all of those arguments. Now, when the election results came out, and they didn't lose massively, the three of them got the highest vote, it shows to me that maybe Nigeria were not paying attention, but they were not too angry that somebody was going to remove subsidy. But when they started, when the policy was now official, I kept reminding people that you see this policy move is going to cost you. And I said it about over a year ago that you will see price increase. And when you come into the studio and say we should discuss price of petroleum subsidy, I was thinking to myself, is Shegun calling me to discuss the price increase today, or the one that will come in 6 months or in 1 year?
Would it still increase?
Of course, he's traveling.
So this is not the least that we should expect.
No. Please, if anybody is hungry or tired, or conserve your energy.
Really?
Because the price is traveling up. So can't waste all your tears.
The price will travel up, the pain will increase also.
Yeah, because the government can do some other things.
Like what?
To reduce the pain. They can put the horse before the cart, if they can find where the horse is. So what they should do is to now try to tell Nigerians, okay, petrol is not your business. And you can do that. You can say petrol is not your business. Just before I came into to this program, I saw an advertorial on your station where Governor of Ogun State was giving electric bike to commercial motorcyclists. So he's doing that in the typical way Nigerians do their own thing in politics. But it's a good policy. So if you have a systematic one done across the country like that, a national automotive policy that says that majority of our commercial vehicles will go off petrol, you can do that. But what I'm saying in essence is that don't be calling people into the studio every 3 months to cry over fuel subsidy or fuel price, because by adopting that policy that you are removing that peg, just like when you remove the peg from Naira, I stopped checking newspaper as to where Naira will be, because once you remove that peg, you are saying, I throw it to the market forces. Then I will start looking at your productivity and your consumption. And I know that immediately you are having a shortfall in your productivity vis-a-vis your consumption, then the Naira value will keep going down. And if I see inflation rate in America and I see inflation rate in your country, I expect that Naira will go up. So that is clear. So the policy choice is this, that we had people who said, we are going to remove subsidy. We had people who said, don't do it. Those who said they will remove it have had their way. People have voted for them and they have removed it. What can you now do? You can't go back and say, reverse it, because the structure for reversing it is not in their head. So what they are going to do is to be hiding the subsidy. Do you know that the reason why petrol is not 2005 now is because President Tinubu is using the NNPC as sacrificial lamb to burn the NNPC profitability by using it to reduce the rate. They are still not selling it at the price which it is landing. So that is the problem of saying we are now working with market forces, where the market forces means about 6 or 7 people.
Now, so I imagine when NNPCL came out on Sunday, between Sunday that NNPCL came and told us, and they told us that they were naked. Naked in the sense that they were telling us how they were. We are owing money. We understand that between 5 and 6 billion US dollars is what NNPC is owing. And on Sunday, I told us, look, we have a problem. We have been bearing the burden of logistic and operational costs, but we can no longer bear. Just in that 1 week, we also, within that few days, we also seen the hike in the price. Now, if it's just 1 week, maybe more, the more truth that NNPC tells us, the more problem we are going to enter. And now you're telling us a very, very bad news that this is probably going to be the least price we can ever buy petrol if the market forces continue to be at play.
You see, yes, because of the policy angle. On this seat here, I remember earlier saying it to you in one of the discussions. I think Mr. Osifo of TUC was on the other side of was on TV at that time showing. I said NNPC was paying for the subsidy. It's very clear. Why I didn't go out criticizing them was that I realized that, well, at least they are trying to secretly correct their errors. And if I was criticizing them, shouting that they are subsidizing now, people are going to suffer more.
Well, like legally, as a lawyer,
yes,
what NNPCL has done over the year, is it right?
A lot of things are not right about NNPC, but they have enough legal argument to get away with what they are doing. What is happening is this. That if we want to solve this problem, I want us to discuss what petrol is meant for. I don't want to be an activist over petrol price, because you already boxed yourself into a corner. You have shown that you're not a good economic thinker, because petrol is not as important as, but the way, in manner in which we use the NNPC is what has made it important. What we have done wrongly is that we have refused to govern. We have refused to set up a public transport system. Just like we don't have a good public education now, that even a taxi driver is putting their child in private school. Just like we don't have good public hospitals, that even a person of low wage earning will now say, I have a headache, I'm going to private hospital. So there are so many things we have allowed to fester because we didn't implement chapter 2 of our constitution. So if we develop public transport system, which is the way you can focus now, I don't want to be part of anyone discussing petrol price anymore, because the cat has been out of the bag for a long time. What we should discuss now is what percentage of your population should be price sensitive. That is to say, is it possible to take people, the 75% of those who are low wage earning, low income earning, take them off petrol?
Is it possible?
It is possible, because if what they need it for, they need it sometimes mainly for transportation. They need it to power some small generators because electricity is not constant. They need it for maybe washing and mechanical repairs and all of that. The majority is on transportation. So even those who are crying about the price of petrol, many of them don't buy petrol, but they buy transport. So the transport price will go up. That will affect them. So what government needs to do is to be a government. But what government is trying to do now is to be a facilitator of petrol business, to be a factor of petrol business, to be a middleman in petrol business, which is what they have been doing all this while. And that's why NNPC looks like a ghost organization, because it's not doing what it's supposed to do under its own law. NNPC is not supposed to be in this kind of mess where it is now, which is that we let governance be done, which means that you have to vote people in who can think through what government should be doing.
So there is another angle to this. So, those who think that all of those blame goes right to the top at the center, but the question is that what about the state government? How are they? Because some of the excess of the money that is not, I mean, the monies that are not paid into subsidy that are now directly going into the federation account largely goes, the more percentage goes in the hands of the state and the local government. Now, what are the local government and the state using these monies for? The question is how many of the state are investing in transportation infrastructure in their state? Because everybody wants to jump on a vehicle and move. In other climes, you see everybody trying to catch a train and going to the tube. Everybody trying to go to the underground to get on the train. That is what looks like a norm in some other climes. You may have your vehicle, but when you are going to work, you park it because it's not fashionable for you to drive. It's too expensive for you to do. But what are the state government doing? I mean, is it a right time for us to start asking that question, the critical question of the role of the 36 state governors and the 774 local government chairmen and the caretaker chairman, as the case may be in other states?
There are many questions to ask. And I didn't run to be a governor or a local government chairman. So I always think like a president, which means you give leadership. So the first, before you go around looking for governors, many of them are not performing, it's very clear. But before you go, you start and say, who is running the economy? Who is in charge of the macroeconomics of Nigeria? Is the president. So when I heard that, for example, the vice president was summoning the minister of state for petroleum and all of that, you can't summon your boss because the ultimate minister for petroleum is the president. So what are you summoning for?
Should the president be relinquishing that position?
Maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he can keep it because I don't know what he wants to do. If I was president, I wouldn't take it because
you wouldn't be.
I wouldn't take it.
So it will be against the norm because we've seen past presidents who have been they've held that position as a minister of petroleum.
I think it's said in the scripture that where your heart is, that's where your treasure will be. So for those who came to politics because of petrol, that's where they will go. I came for something else. So I will emphasize other areas that can develop the economy faster and better and in a more robust way. So I will concentrate on those ones. I will marginalize petrol in such a way that even NNPCL will disappear from interaction with the government so much because all we need to do is to let it run as a state-owned oil company. It's not the government. So, but let me go back to where the problem lies. The problem lies is that the president is running the economy through the finance minister and the minister of planning and the central bank. So he can control how governors spend money by using monetary tools. And that he can do by first showing example himself. So it is good if the states can build infrastructure. It is good, but the federal government itself is not building sufficient infrastructure to be an example. I don't know, I don't want to go too far into history, but there was a president in America called Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower. During the Second World War, he went to Europe as a force commander. He now realized that America was like a bush compared to Europe. With all the Autobahn, 8-lane highway, 16-lane highway, when he came back to America, he started the Eisenhower highway system by encouraging states that if you want to do a road, I will match it with federal money. And that's why most interstate highways in America are called Eisenhower Highway. So you have to have a focus at national level. And then the president is also the head of his party. So, and he has majority of the governors. So even if he cannot control the governor of Anambra or Abia, what of the governor of Lagos and other places where he is, they are the same political party, they have the same manifesto. The problem of political analysis on television is that you are trying to impose your idea on a government that has no ideas. They have their own ideas, they know where they are going. Let me tell you the summary of where they say they are going. Where they say they are going is that let them be fiscally lean. Let them take away all the other responsibility of social services, everything. Let them become a revenue generating body. And let them create a common market for commodities and for the currency. And that if they do all of this, they will present themselves to foreign investors. And the foreign investors will now see that Nigeria is ripe for a market to exploit. And then those foreign investors will now bring their money. That is where they are working towards. And for you to do that, they need 2, 3, 4 years to convince the foreign investors who don't want to lose their money. But in the process of waiting for the foreign investor, they are disinvesting in the country by themselves. So my approach is that the government needs to do social investment. And there are many ways you can drive your economy. And if you do comparative study of economics all over the place, you will find out something. There's always something that is cheap in a country. In some countries, housing will be cheap. Public education will be cheap, like Canada. And people will rush there and say, oh, social services are cheap. So in some other country like America, credit is cheap. If you set up a company, a bank is willing to give you money. If you just walk into the place, start working. So credit is cheaper because government is subsidizing credit. The Federal Reserve is giving money to banks sometimes at negative interest. So you have to anchor. If you look at Cote d'Ivoire, agriculture is cheap. The government has put so much investment that if you are a farmer in Ivory Coast, you are almost like you are getting most things for free. So you have to find out, in China, industrialization is cheap because you can set up factories to produce anything, and for the first 4 years, the Chinese government is supporting you. The local government in China are the majority giving their money free to banks so that the banks can lend to industrialists. So in Nigeria, you have to find something that is cheap.
All right.
Petrol has been the one that has been cheap so far, but now they've gotten off that.
How expensive politically is this decision for President Bola Tinubu?
Well, I don't think it's expensive because Nigerians don't know how to punish a government. So he knows the people very well, that they won't do anything. They will make noise for 3 days, or some will go on a demonstration, which won't help you. But in Edo State, they will still vote for APC. In Ondo State, they will still vote. So the Nigerians don't know how to give feedback to the government. They will just insult the people in government. They will shout, they will walk on the street. But they do not, we need to learn how to say, okay, is this what you want to do? All right. The next election, we will teach you a lesson, because that's the only thing politicians react to. But they know that you can insult me, because some of them believe, especially President Tinubu, that what he's doing is right. And that's why I'm very careful when I criticize. I like to give my own alternative, because he believes that what he is doing is what is good for the country. And I've listened to him argue it, he believes in it. And if you listen to Dr. Okonjo-Iweala's speech at the just concluded MBA, if you listen to that speech, because she's an eloquent explainer of Nigerian macroeconomics thinking, you will see that he speaks for the elite. She spoke for the elite there. That is the belief. They believe that these things are good for the country. Only I and a few believe that they're not good.
So, but is it possible that things could change? Maybe it's a teaching, maybe in the 3rd year, we might see a dramatic change.
Things will always change, whether you change them or not. But the only thing is that
for good.
Yeah, things will change for good, but the price of petrol will always go up. So that one you can be sure of, until you do what we call shift. Because if you are traveling, in economics, if you are traveling along the curve, you cannot escape demand and supply. Because you are traveling along the curve, unless you do a shift, you move from that shift and say, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. What President Tinubu can say is that petrol price will reach 3,000 per liter, but Nigerians will not feel it. If he makes that promise, I can believe him. Right. But if he says he will not reach, he's deceiving himself, because two things are moving. Remember that petrol price has a twin sister, who you don't mention, called foreign exchange. That foreign exchange is what is even more influential than the subsidy. And that foreign exchange will determine, because even if you get Dangote, you get me, you get anybody to have a refinery, their cost is in dollars. Dangote cannot say, come and be the chairman or come and be the MD of my refinery, I'll pay you in Naira. That person will not come. So he can't tell you, I want to buy crude. Only you can buy crude from NNPCL in Naira. But that one is the Central Bank of Nigeria that will suffer it. So, but you can't buy it from outside. So long and short of it is that Nigerians should understand that we have made a choice that subsidy should go by voting those who don't like to give you subsidy. For that reason, the only thing we can do for the government is to try to train the government to try to take away the effect by taking people away from the use of petrol. And then if at a macroeconomic level, you can get off petrol yourself, better for you quickly.
Prince Adewole Adebayo was the presidential candidate of the SDP in the 2023 election. Thanks so much indeed.
Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
I appreciate it. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Man, thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.